Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are actually talking about reverse warrants here in the United States, what they are, and how law enforcement is violating your privacy and constitutional rights by using these. Now here's what's going on. This is coming from Tech Dirt. Now, using these so-called reverse warrants, investigators are asking Google, one of the largest targets of these warrants, to turn over information for all devices in a geofenced area with the hope of working their way backwards from these data points to actual criminal suspects. Now, these are called warrants, but they're really not supported by probable cause. And that's one of the things here, treating everybody in the area as a suspected of a crime or criminal suspect until things can be sorted out, basically flips the entire concept of a warrant on its head. In other words, if they think, oh, I am guilty of murder or whatever, and they have evidence of that or probable cause of that, they can go to a judge and get a warrant that says, oh, we can search Nick's house, his phone, whatever, and there we go. But what they're not saying is, oh, well, we think Nick was in this area this whole time, or we know a crime went down and we have no idea who did it, and so let's grab everybody in this geofenced area and look through all of their data, including me, who didn't do anything. That's what we're talking about here. Now, the government isn't always honest with the courts as well about how many innocent people these quote-unquote reverse warrants can essentially ensnare. We've seen some courts engage in more active reviews of these, fortunately, which have led to a couple of different rejections, but overall, these are getting through. Now, Google has released some of the details on reverse warrants, which show that they are very popular and increasing as an option for law enforcement agencies. Zach Whitaker broke this down for TechCrunch, and I'm going to mostly quote him here on this. Now, the figures published Thursday reveal that Google has received thousands of geofenced warrants each quarter since 2018, and at times accounted for 1/4 of all U.S. warrants that Google receives. Now, the data shows that the vast majority of geofence warrants are obtained by local and state authorities, with federal law enforcement accounting for just 4% asking of Google. Now, according to data, Google received 982 geofence warrants in 2018, 8,396 in 19, and 11,554 in 2020. Those figures provide only a small glimpse, though, into the volume of warrants received and did not break down how often it pushes back on overly broad requests. Then again, every request here could be considered overly broad, seeing as how only probable cause is used in the presumption that it's probable Google has data the investigators are looking to obtain. Crimes that occur in heavily trafficked areas or during daylight hours produce obviously the biggest data mining areas, especially if you're living in an urban area, which therefore increases the odds of somebody being wrongly arrested for literally being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Look at a densely populated area, for example, Chicago. That's my home city here. Obviously there's a lot of people in apartments, and you might have been murdered on floor 32, but the guy on floor 33 looks like he's right next door. They're also overly broad in the sense that they would make the assumption that the criminal suspect would be carrying a device that is actually utilizing Google location services. Not all do, Android obviously does. Now, they also tend to gloss over the fact that this location data isn't as nearly as accurate as cell site location data, which means there's just as much of a chance for a false negative as there is a false positive, apparently according to TechDirt. So this is obviously a huge problem. We are vastly seeing data mining. My last 2 or 3 videos / podcasts here have been on data mining, whether it's your internet service provider just grabbing everything that you're doing, whether it's your Netflix or Hulu or Roku device or Fire Stick that is data mining you for basically advertising prioritization and monetization, or it's the government coming in, local and apparently federal as well, basically saying, we know a crime was committed, let's look at everyone. And that doesn't seem right to me, in the sense that we have rights to privacy here that appear to be violated essentially by doing this. If there's a murder in my neighborhood, that's awful, that's horrible, but I don't want my data swept up in that. I had nothing to do with that. There's no evidence that I did other than the fact that I live in proximity to a murder. That's a huge problem for me, as it should be for all of my neighbors. And if you're living in a more densely packed area, like smaller neighborhoods or in high rises where people are living up on top of each other, can you imagine the amount of location tracking they're getting per user, per device? That's not right. But that's law enforcement today in the United States, and that is of deep concern. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, everyone.